You made the decision weeks ago. Not out loud. No one knew you were even considering it. You sat with it, turned it over, let it settle, until one evening it clicked. You didn't call anyone. You didn't need to. You just knew. And then, almost immediately, is something wrong with me for not needing to ask? Millions of people run their inner lives this way. They just don't say so, because somewhere along the way they absorbed the message that this is a red flag. I once spent a cross-country flight working through a career decision that had been stalling for months. By the time we landed, I had an answer. I felt almost embarrassed by how clean that was. We're not here to reassure you. We're here to explain you. And here's what almost no one tells you. Psychologist Julian Rotter noticed in the 1950s that some people treat uncertainty like a puzzle. Others treat it like a threat. He called it locus of control. High internals, people who believe their outcomes come from their own actions, don't just think they're in charge. Their nervous systems generate their own signal rather than outsource it. They feel more discomfort in uncertainty than in solitude. Then there's emotional granularity, Lisa Feldman Barrett's term for making fine distinctions between emotional states. Not just stressed, but dreading a conversation I keep postponing. It develops fastest in people who reflect alone, not in people who talk everything through immediately. And the default mode network, the brain region responsible for self-reflection and meaning-making, doesn't activate during social interaction. It activates during quiet. Solitude isn't downtime. For some brains, it's peak uptime. But here's what none of this explains: why you still feel guilty about it. Sign 1. You solve problems before you talk about them. When something goes wrong, you sit with it first. Not because you don't trust people, because voicing it before you understand it feels like handing someone a half-assembled puzzle. The conversation, if it happens, is a debrief. Your brain runs its own diagnostics. That's not coldness, that's architecture. Sign 2. Your most honest thinking happens when you're alone. There's a version of you that exists only in solitude, more precise, less performed. Social presence, even with people you love, introduces a background noise of self-monitoring. Alone, the signal gets cleaner. Sign 3. You make major decisions without seeking consensus. You might ask for information, you rarely ask for permission, because outsourcing the final call tends to import someone else's fear into a decision that belongs to your life specifically. Sign 4. You reflect on experiences without being prompted. You replay conversations, not obsessively, but with genuine forensic curiosity. The rumination people pathologize in introverts is often, at its cleanest, just a mind that won't stop taking notes. Sign 5. Alone time feels productive, not empty. You emerge from a solo weekend having processed 3 things and started one more. Other people ask, "Didn't you get lonely?" And you can't explain that the weekend felt dense without having left the apartment. Sign 6. You experience guilt about all of the above. This is the most diagnostic sign. The quiet sense that something about how you function is slightly off. That the sufficiency you feel alone is somehow suspicious. It isn't. It's just rare. Here's the shift. Most frameworks for psychological well-being were built around social regulation. The idea that we need other people to co-regulate us, to reflect our emotions back, to validate that what we feel is real. For many people, that's accurate. But some people build an internal architecture robust enough to do much of that work from the inside. Not cold, not disconnected. More like renting your emotional state from the room you're in versus owning it. The guilt you feel about thriving alone? That's not a signal that something is wrong. That's evidence you internalized a norm that wasn't built for your nervous system. You didn't fail to need people. You developed a rare capacity and spent years apologizing for it. You're not someone who can't connect. You're someone who connects inward first. And that's not a deficit. That's a different kind of signal processing. One most people never develop because they never had to. What have you already figured out, alone, quietly, without anyone asking, that you've never given yourself credit for?